I hope that my internet is gonna spare me today with the trouble. Um, can you hear me well? Please give me a comment or whatever. This one viewer, thank you. Give me a comment or whatever. I hear myself. Okay. I hear myself. Okay. Was not intended. Okay. So, in less than a couple of weeks, I'm gonna turn 42, and it's gonna be fun. Probably first birthday party where I'm gonna be more or less alone. I made myself a couple of notes. There we go, better light. To kind of say and recap some of the most important lessons I've learned in life, beginning from kind of in a order of which ones are best, let's say, to know already at the time when you reach maybe the age between 15 and 20. So, focus and discipline, really important stuff. If, let's say, like in my case, parents don't teach you anything about it and no responsibility for life and yourself, then it's good. That's a good time to start teaching yourself focus and discipline, because at that age we tend to start to be more critical towards the world that we see, so we don't just take everything as granted and unfiltered for the most part. And it's a good time to start teaching our own brain and ourselves to start enjoying what's sometimes hard to achieve and it takes time, so that we don't find ourselves in a trap of seek the easy way out later on. So that's the part. Daily routine. Now, daily routines of what kind would people probably ask? I would say a daily routine which does, in a very long term, affect your body, your mind, and awareness positively. So it probably would be a meditation or something alike. And when you do this as often as you can, because especially in this day and age, it's really hard to maintain a really daily routine. So it could be a routine doing something once a day, something could be 3 times a week, whatever it is. But what it helps is to establish your own baseline. So over the time, doing the same thing over and over again, people get bored. But when you actually get used to being bored, you have some kind of a baseline to observe yourself from. So whenever you're doing, let's say if you're doing the same exercise every day, in the morning you get up and you do exactly the same set of exercises every morning, you will know exactly how you feel. So you will know if you do, let's say, every day 20 squats, whether those squats are going to be easier. You know that that day you were feeling more rested, stronger, whatever is going on. If you're going to struggle doing those 20 squats, even though you've been doing them already for, let's say, the past year, it means there's something wrong. So you should probably go see a doctor or whatever, or figure out what's, what you have done yourself, even that you feel that bad. Because nothing really, that's actually really good to know. Why do you need like a physical and a mental routine as often as you can? Because you have a really good baseline for yourself. When you're still really young and strong, and also your body is at a very regenerative state, so you keep growing and developing your personality up until the age of about 28, 30. So all the way up until that time, it's best to keep exploring, discovering, and learning. So when people are saying you should pick one job and one thing alone, especially to be prepared for not just modern age, but what's actually coming for the future generations, is completely useless. Because now people who become specialized, for the most part, when you look at them and you ask them, at the end of the day, what they find out that they were working really hard for only one thing alone in their life, and they really found themselves kind of trapped and not having joy. And most of them actually do get they get promotions in their life, they get better paychecks and stuff, but they actually end up managing and doing, or like watching other people doing what they love to do. So I was just watching the other day someone debating this, an expert in psychology and stuff. He wrote a great book about reaching your own breakthrough. And he said that a lot of people forget that their own profession, their own job has different aspects of what they're doing in life. And that they never go and explore and discover those different aspects, especially people who tend to start to work very young. So that's really important to stay open-minded, flexible, just find stuff that you didn't even know you liked, and the stuff you didn't know you didn't like, for example. So that's kind of like a cool stuff that I've maybe known when I was already younger, but just doing it a little bit without the focus. So that's why I also said focus at the beginning is important, because everything you do, if you do it with a focus and some kind of goal in mind and you want to get something out of it, you know why you're doing it, then it just everything becomes more fun and way more efficient. If you're doing it just because, or because somebody tells you, then better not. Um, let's say something that I didn't know way too long, something that I've learned only in the past year, but I should have learned at least when I was 20 or before. Building healthy relationships and boundaries. So clearly, not all of us were that lucky in life to have a childhood in which we could develop into people who are healthy and kind and positive, and like not just in the outlook of life and towards others, but inside out. And that means, like, I don't know, the other day when this hater left a comment, and it kind of, there was one thing that stuck with me. So of all things that they said, there was utter bullshit, but one thing was like that I was a shitty person. Yeah, I could agree with that to a certain extent. I still think if we're gonna discuss who are really shitty people and who are not, I would say, in my opinion, like if we have to use that word for any kind of living being, to be honest, then it boils down to really the worst of the worst, like rapists, child molesters, like words that probably I shouldn't be using here so I don't get banned or whatever is wrong with all these platforms lately. But people who really just generally hurt others for their own gain and pleasure, whatever the hell it is, when they intentionally, or maybe because of their some of their neurological conditions, do these things. Let's say that it's out of pleasure, but I would say if it's like someone that cannot control their urges, that those people can even be forgiven, because it's not, it's like illness. It's not necessarily their fault. Most of them would even say, look, I would prefer if I'm stopped. As far as I was researching different subjects on that, like serial killers and stuff, those of them that were really sick, most of the times just wanted to be caught. So that's it, end of the story. But then there are people who do it to be famous, who are really intelligent, blah, 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 whatever. They even had maybe normal lives. They were raised in a Christian family. Everything was good for them. They still turn out like that. Why? Because they generally chose to be a shitty, bloody person. And that's a choice. If you choose to be like that, that makes you a shitty person. I honestly didn't really choose to behave like a dickhead when I used to behave like that. I didn't choose my parents, even though there is this theory flying around that as souls and stuff, before we get born, that we choose our life and the parents and stuff. And I kind of like that theory because it's, if nothing else, it teaches you to take accountability for everything in your life, and it helps you processing that stuff if you can believe it and it makes sense to you. To me, it makes sense from different perspectives, not from the self-help perspective. It makes more sense to explore that subject on a sense of like, where do we all come from? What is a soul? You know, things like that, but not when it comes to debating, did I choose to be torn apart as a child into pieces, which, you know, I had to keep picking up as an adult. No, but it's important. So, and that's where it comes building healthy relationships and boundaries, because at the time when you're about 20, so between the 15 and 20, you're gonna have a girlfriend or something, a few good friends and stuff, and bad things will happen, for sure. So if you stick and observe how you are reacting to those things, then you will know whether you have an issue or not. So if you're reacting with anger and stuff, if you're reacting to your emotions that are negative with anger, aggressively, even if just to yourself, because most of the part I never wanted to ever hurt a single living being, but most of the times I ended up punching walls and doors and stuff, and nobody thinks that this is just as abusive as punching another person. And why? Because you accept giving and receiving pain at the same time, and you normalize it, and sooner or later you become one of those people. What happened to me as well. So it's super hard probably for most people to admit that shit, but for me it's not. It's just like, yeah, we do mistakes because life and sometimes circumstances leads us to it. So like, you know, not every drug dealer is a bad person. Some people are just unfortunate, and they do whatever they know and whatever was in their environment at their disposal to survive. So, speaking of survival, here we are at the next point. Invest. When I was 19, I was actually working in a company that was paying really, really good bonuses for selling insurance companies, insurance policies with investment policies together, combined with the hedge funds and stuff. So even back then, I was already hearing in these seminars that we had, where we actually had to teach our own clients how to invest smart, how to invest long term. So the main rule was always that whatever money you get at the beginning of the month, so don't like go get your groceries, pay the bills, pay the rent and stuff, and then see what's left and invest that money, because in most of the cases, not even back then, that's more than 20 years ago now, even back then in most of the cases people could not afford to do that at the end of the month. And now it's even worse, it's even harder. But opportunities are a lot bigger, and there's a lot more opportunities now than this was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, you couldn't just open an app and throw in €5 somewhere to invest. No, you had to have some minimum amounts like 500 or 1,000 euros or whatever it was. But the fractional investments were still not that close to people at that point. So now it's a lot easier. And what you can do is invest every month. So if you, let's say, I would say 5 to 10% of whatever you make. So if you make 1,000 euros, you should probably be investing at least 50 euros every month. And don't invest it like all the eggs in one basket, but spread your investments. Yeah. So at the beginning, obviously, with that little money, it's actually much better to invest in more volatile markets, which most people would say it makes no sense what I'm talking about, but it's actually, it makes a lot of sense, because when I was observing for the past 2 to 3 years, and actually even pulling my own really bad investments when it comes to crypto over the past 6 years, pulling myself out of that, it wasn't like really too bad. But let's say I made like I kind of netted about 10,000 euros of losses, and then somehow either I would just quit and leave it at that, and then do the typical old grind, or I would still keep investing and try to see how much I can actually get out of this, at the end of the day. Of course, in the meantime, I also had a long break because of the kids and the other issues and stuff, and then I just wasn't motivated and I wasn't informed enough, so I had a blockage. Then I started investing again in more, like I said, in steps, like month after month after month. And within about a year, I recovered about 85% of my losses so far. So that's actually quite good for someone who doesn't even do day trading. So invest in yourself, invest in your future. Yeah, so always make sure that you are taking whatever, at least like I said, 5 to 10% of whatever you make at the beginning of the month, take it and put it somewhere. And if you're really at the beginning and you're still young, risk more because the rewards are bigger in the end. All you have to understand that all the investments are always long term, like crypto, 2 to 5 years, stocks, 5 to 10 years, indexes, 10 to 20 years, hedge funds, 10 to 20 years, and that's pretty much it. That's kind of stuff. I mean, and it's not really hard to learn any of this. Again, like I said before, at the beginning or not, maybe I said, but yeah, exactly, discipline and learning. So if you should learn something when you're young, you should learn how to manage your finances, your personal finances, and just investing, and how to build your own future, because it's not really about being rich. It's just about making sure when shit hits the fan, you're actually going to be able to cover it for yourself. Because at the end of the day, nothing is for free. Even in these countries where healthcare is seemingly for free and schools are seemingly for free and not, the taxes are also really high. So it's always you're paying, either way you're paying. And one way or another, even if your healthcare is for free and something bad happens, you're still going to end up paying a shit ton of money for the life you're going to have, let's say, after a bad accident. So invest in yourself and invest in your own security, basically. That's what it is. Yeah, screw being rich. I mean, getting rich takes a lot more effort than just investing. So then, when it comes to showing relationships, when I said build healthy relationships and boundaries before, maybe it's also something I should mix in before together, is reward people for every time that they are kind and good to you and to others. So like, I'm really happy, let's say, if I go to a restaurant and I get served exceptionally well, I'm pretty sure that each and every time I've left a tip of about 20 to 30%, probably even more, depends on how well impressed I was with the whole service and the person serving me and stuff like that. So like, reward people for doing a good job. If you're a business owner and you see someone who is really passionate, but they don't necessarily have all the skills and the talent, give them the tools and the skills that they need to learn. Invest into them, because they will be ultimately forever loyal and they will build your freaking business up. And if somebody's there only for the minimum wages, if you want to keep it that way, fine. But I would usually tell those people to go and give a place to someone who actually wants to do more than they are asked for. Yeah, so like, reward those kind of people. And when it comes to people who are just really, like I said, the minimum resistance and stuff, I call them, it's kind of a derogatory term, but still, at the end of the day, people are enslaved because they put themselves into a position of a slave, into a mindset of a slave, or someone that can't change, can't do anything, can't learn. That's like all of these limitations that people put on themselves. I call them simply slaves. And what do? When I see this kind of behavior and stuff, I mean, before in life, I often tried to do something to change people. Like, but obviously, of course, as I was growing, I learned you can only change the people who want to be changed. You only can help people who want to be helped. So in the end, If somebody comes to you, let's say, and says, "Oh my God, my life is so miserable. I don't know. Everything is so bad. Nothing is happening. Blah 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 blah." But you see, at the end of the day, that all they do is walk the path of the minimum resistance. They actually don't want to change anything about their lives, not their way of thinking, not what they do, not where they go, not who they talk to, not how they talk, nothing. They just literally do to a very single, every bit, everything the same. They're a slave. And very often I would feel like, responsible for people who were like that around me and if they were close. Screw them, ignore them. That's the best you can do. Don't feed into their ego, don't feed into their attention and stuff like that, because all they need is actually the validation for their own pain and for their own excuses, and to blame everything else and others around themselves. Funny enough, let's say I had more than a few people very close to me constantly telling me the same shit, but at the end of the day, when you saw how they have, let's say, communication issues with their own parents or someone else, a friend and stuff, and you just tell them, look, there's only one thing you can do. Go and talk to them, but be honest this time. Be honest about yourself and your feelings, and they still don't do it. So then it shouldn't surprise you that every time you're trying to be honest with them, you're gonna hear it, yeah? So that's the whole point. When you see people like that, walk away, ignore, don't give them any attention, forget about it. And hopefully you didn't let them too close enough to actually care anything what they think. Because opinions of people like that should never matter to anyone. So, now why I said, yeah, I call them slaves, but it sounds derogatory, yeah? Be kind to everyone. It's really hard. It is one of the hardest things to be really kind to everyone, but I found ways to always learn even more about it. The other day I was watching a video about scammers, which are also one of the shittiest people on the planet, ruining people's lives, taking last of their money and stuff. And there was like this person that worked in IT. So that's basically information technology. That's a profession and the industry where being scammed by a fake tax office phone call or a fake Microsoft IT support call, that's bonkers. That sounded crazy to me. But the person who is doing these shows on YouTube was super kind to them. Like, and I was like just taken aback. I'm like observing my own thoughts and thinking, there I go. I mean, I was considering myself to be a kind person. But to be honest, very often I understood that as long as I was quite brutally honest with people, that wasn't really kindness in itself. So I had to slowly peel those layers away and realize that it's okay to be honest with people, but it's still okay to do it in a way that we don't cause pain, not to ourselves and not to them. So let's say if there is someone who is really, you've already kindly told them, look, I'm sorry, but this is what you're doing or what you're saying to me, whatever it is bothering me. It's not nice. It's making me feel uncomfortable. And they still don't give a damn about it. Yeah, well, obviously, the best kind thing you can do first to yourself is to go away. Because if you do get into any further arguments and stuff, you're gonna get angry, you're gonna get toxic, and it's gonna influence and infect your life really badly. Yeah, so that's actually important. More like when you're being kind to others, you're actually being just really kind to yourself. So that's the really for me it was an interesting reflection in life when I finally realized why this cliche of kindness and compassion was so important. And still, I don't think I would really put up, like, when Jesus said, if when somebody hits you in the face, and then you have to put up the other cheek. I don't think I'd still do that stuff. Depends if it's if it's life and death situation. Definitely not. If, let's say, a pissed off woman would try to smack me, yeah, I would allow her to smack me once more, but that would be also the last time she's actually able to talk to me. So let's say that's it. Being kind to yourself. Let's get to the fun, a little bit more fun subject. Dreaming big, like this, especially this cheesy bloody Instagram stuff. Yeah, like yes, things do work. I mean, honestly, really, when you wish something in your life, really from the bottom of your heart, I can guarantee you from myself, it's not like the books and not the movies and The Secret and stuff. My own life story before all of this crap came out and started being marketed is a fact in itself, like an evidence of it. I really wished for many of the things that I had in my life or experienced, and they came true, well beyond my imagination. And it was those that I really wanted from my heart, those most sincere wishes, they actually came true like magic, like when you least expect, in like just like life is really so beautiful. So dream big, really, really dream big. Whether it's daydreaming, whether it's dreaming at night, just generally allow your life to be as big as it can be in your imagination. It's really worth it. I cannot express how much. I mean, I'm almost tearing in my eye right now explaining this, yeah? And then when you're dreaming big, because most people, they do this silliest mistake, they start planning for those big dreams. And this is the one part which becomes unreachable and impossible. And then people say, oh, bullshit. You know, it's all cliche. No, it's not. It works. Why? Because when you dream big, and then you create plans that you can actually execute. So, like, if you want to, I don't know, build something really big, like you want to build your own house with your own hands, but you have zero clue how. Where can you start? What can you actually do today to finish building your house in the future? Well, first you have to start to learn how to build houses, right? And it's going to take a lot of stuff. It's not just how to mix concrete. It's not just how to lay bricks. It's also how to do plumbing. It's all how to do electricity and stuff. Hold on, it's just my friend. I need to tell him, dude, I'm live. So wait, I'm live. So it's also kind of like, now I got lost. Yeah, so when you're building the house, you need to learn how to do electricity, water, all of that kind of stuff. So just the learning process in itself would take years, right? And people would often, of course, give up. But, you know, that's, again, takes discipline and focus. But if your dream is to build a house that only you would know how to build from your head out, well, I guess it's time to start learning how to do stuff. Yeah. And when you do those plans, plan for a month, a week, and a day. That's pretty much the maximum, because nobody knows. To be honest, when people ask me, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I could tell you easier, what do I see in 50 years from now? Where do I see myself in 5? The way I think and the way my mind works, it's just too much of a short-term question, actually, to be honest, to say, okay, this is where I see myself in 5 years. I can tell you what I'm going to do in the next few weeks, but how that is going to reflect within my next 5 years, it's just too many possibilities I see already right now at this very moment to tell you. But if you tell me 50 years, I can pretty much tell you where can I be and what I see myself there. Most of all, expect nothing out of all this. Let go of all of your expectations, because realistically, nothing in life will actually ever really turn out the way you expect it to be. And I mean nothing. Own assets. When you buy stuff and spend your money, the most you should be spending on is on stuff that keeps making you money. So own the assets and spend the money on the experiences. And then adventure. Yeah, so travel, experience stuff, learn, go see cultures, see people. Yo, man, look, I'm live. I'm sorry. Yeah. Pardon. I'm gonna look. There's screwdrivers you can reach by hand. Look, buddy, please. Oh, yeah. Pardon. So own the assets, and if you're spending money, then things spend on things that will last, and this is mostly memories and experiences. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's the downside of living on the boat, and people who don't really appreciate and value that you're reserving the time for yourself. So I'm gonna get to that as well. How to handle these kind of situations, and I hope I handle this one well. To be really happy and long-term successful, don't compare yourself to anyone, and don't compare anyone else to yourself either. So I was more often introjecting. So this is not, a lot of people are projecting, yeah. So, but I was doing quite the other way around. I always expected people that they would intricately have the effort and ability to be as good as and as kind as most of us are actually by nature. But that's just too much to expect from a lot of people. So don't compare yourself like that, and don't compare others even in between themselves, because each and every person is unique, even though our own core biomechanical structure like brain and neuroscience and all that stuff functions in the same way. We still have our own experience of ourselves even. So that's kind of like the way we are very different for each other. So it's, you have your own standards, you have your own experience of what's good and what's bad for you. So that's why, people have different tastes. And just based on that alone, you can figure out that literally everything we experience through our own mind is different for everyone. So stop comparing. You're not, if you're gonna try to be like that other person, you're never actually gonna figure out who you really are. The new age of modern perfectionism, toxic positivity, everything has to be top, everything has to be the best, everything has to look the best, always be at the top and the top and the top. People keep forgetting that whenever you're going to fly to the top, eventually you're also going to land somewhere down. There's always someone better, there's always something better, and blah, blah, blah. So trying to be the best in anything or everything is just borderline almost insanity, I'd say. It's an obsession. That's why those top level athletes who are like, really at the top level for years and years and years are completely obsessed with the sport. They are different than everyone else. So trying to be like that means you probably don't have a real social life and family and stuff. And if you look at most of those cases, it's actually true. So the best thing to be happy and, enjoying yourself is just to know that it's really okay to do just better. As long as you keep doing better than before, that's it. You're making progress, you're doing something better, you're investing in yourself, and that investment will eventually prove itself worthwhile. And there it goes to that part, If you stop being a perfectionist, it becomes a lot easier to also embrace the cycles. Because people just expect that once they've achieved something, done something, that's it. Now that's it. Now I can rest. Now I can do this. And soon enough, after that becomes a depression period. I've had it myself, and it took it kind of, you don't even realize you're there. You're there when until it's already there for a while. So, and it's about the realization that everything comes in cycles. So sometimes it can be a very long and a slow cycle. Either it's of joy and pleasure and stuff, or the pain. Either way. So it all comes, and life is, everything is like vibration or energy and frequencies are basically waves, yeah. So what do? You ride the wave. And or the way I put it, it's like a tornado, you know. There's always going to be some kind of a tornado in life, and then when it comes to that, you try and find the eye of the tornado and walk with it. It's going to be the easiest. So that's it. Kind of embrace the fact that shit's going to be happening in life, and there's always going to be the part of painful processes and the highs and the lows together. So embrace that, because both teach you just as important lessons in life. Where I learned that actually pain teaches you a lot more important lessons and a lot more wisdom, where the good stuff teaches you a lot more about yourself, about who you truly are. Because when you're having fun and enjoying how you treat everyone and yourself, at that point, that really tells a lot about you. Yeah, given the fact that I said there's a wave, and also some things just end. You buy a car, and it has a lifetime. You buy stuff, it has lifetime. Today, things have an even shorter lifetime than before, and it just so happened that relationships too. So, and it's not just relationships; it's just everything, because we have this instant gratification culture nowadays. Nothing lasts forever, so in order to make it last longer, as long as it can, learn how to maintain it, learn how to fix it, lubricate, water it, whatever, you know, like add some new paint. Because, you know, if you really love your classic car, you're going to do whatever it takes to drive it for years and years. And if you look at some really old classic cars in very good hands, they've been driving for hundreds of years. Of course, not all parts are original, but if you know anything about our human biology, within like 7 to 8 years, almost every cell in your body is also completely replaced. So the body does that to itself, it maintains itself and renews itself. So that's exactly the same with everything else. With relationships, it's a bit kind of funny enough that some people who have really long lasting relationships and very constructive ones have figured out that what helps is obviously very good communication and open and sincere. But what it helps that in a range of every about 7 years, you do something that actually does change your life quite significantly. Whether you find a new place to live, new job, whatever it is, just something that really does actually introduce a really fresh change in your life. And I must say that's pretty much how it works, even for yourself. Some of the like stuff that is then when you get a little bit older, when you've already maybe acquired some wealth and you got something, and know how to proceed and how to get into your, let's say, to the part of the 40s, I would say, to be really good at it. If stuff comes too easy, very often it turns out it was totally not worth it. And I'm talking about stuff, people, whatever it is. If it really came just like that, either it comes at a huge cost or whatever, you're gonna have any other problems with it. With love and friends and relationships like that, it's really wise to be very selective when you're choosing long term, of course, as well. So to find people that will not fit in anyone's perspective of a collaborative and constructive life, it's people who do mirror projections. So let's say, from my own experience, one of the girlfriends, very early on, she said, "You'll be the first to cheat on me." She cheated for half a year and lied about it. "You'll be the first to hit me." She actually definitely tried to hit me and stuff like that. So, you know, these are the mirror projections. People that often judge others for what they're like, and when they say others do that, others do this, be careful about those things. And people, when people say those things very often, or words like "I would never do this," "I would never do this to you," things like that, those are very, very not very often, at least from what I've experienced, literally every time it turned out those people You need to be mindful of their words, because when they say those things, that's when they're giving themselves away. So this is basically one of those major red flags. You need to be careful with everyone, and then the rest. If you see this red flag, then everything else, they will give it away real quick. So pay attention. So when it comes to real love and real friends, people who will tell you the things you don't like to hear are your real friends. The real love is the one that works on issues together. So if you do something, you tell your partner and you change behaviors, stuff like that. So it's like really, it's never easy. It takes work. So all the best relationships actually take a lot of work and commitment. And then when it comes to the friends, you will know. So the true love, the real love and real friendship comes from effortless stuff. So the real friends will check up on you when you're in your shittiest mode, when you're really at your worst. They will check up. You won't have to ask. That's the same with real love. Then when it comes between friends or also your love and stuff, these people won't let anyone step in between you and them for anything. Even if you're, let's say, the one doing something that's a mistake or wrong at that time, but they know, they understand you, they understand your reaction, whatever the background it is. These are the people who are gonna have your back. These are your friends. These are the people who actually truly love you. You're their first choice. So that's more or less comes to very intimate relationships, but you're their first choice. If they have, let's say, if you have a partner and they have friends of opposite sex or even the same sex, but they could be potentially romantic, and they actually pursue those things, even if it's just flirting and even just for fun and a joke, just for the attention. If you didn't like it and it does, it doesn't fit with you, and you tell them that, and they haven't made themselves the choice, you don't have to force anyone, but they themselves don't make that choice that you're the first, the answer is pretty clear. They don't love you. You're just one of their choices. And what you're going to do with that, you're going to have to figure yourself. But I would say best thing to do is walk away. If they're going to choose you after that, giving them a second chance actually might not be a bad idea, because not everyone is messed up and bad, or not everyone is abusive. So then discussing mental health with partners and friends is extremely important. To be able to discuss anything about the mental health openly, without being judged, without being told what to do, without being lectured how to behave, anything. But people still support you. They do give you advice which you ask for. They support you along the way, and they don't just walk away whenever you're actually not at your best. That's actually the way to go. These are, again, good friends, good people, good lovers that stick with you through anything. And the same goes for you, of course. Yeah, if you want to have a good partner, you gotta be like that yourself. Discuss parenting. When if you are going to be a parent, or you're planning the parenting, or you are already a parent, talk about parenting with your partner and the people who are around you that have experience and stuff. But always make sure that you're actually relying on your own standards. It's just when you're unsure, find 3 people who you look up to and ask them for their opinions, what to do. Last but not least, being really honest with yourself and with everyone else in life is always going to be the best thing you can do for anyone, especially yourself. And I'm pretty much going to be getting close to an end quick, I think. Yeah. So in terms of yeah, okay, I'm sorry, you will have to wait, because you're coming unannounced. You said
What
you're
unannounced? I told you a couple of things.
Pardon, folks. You're disturbing me right now. You will have to wait. Please close. You will have to wait. I'm so sorry. You will have to. I will not explain again. I don't like to repeat myself. You will have to wait. Close it, please.
Fully selfish.
Yes, I am. Parenting. Yeah. I'm not looking for a mute button right now. The person always ends their work at 10 o'clock, so I didn't expect them to be right now, and I'm selfish, so that's it. And there is no mute button. Not on the phone. Parenting. So this is one of those most challenging tasks in life. Heh. One thing I've learned from my kids is that they always speak the truth. A really polite reaction, my body, which we're gonna cut that off as well. So parenting is one of those things that most people are also afraid of, because yeah, like, we're all gonna make mistakes. Regardless of which books you read, whatever you do, how many TV shows you watch, and whatever it is, we're all gonna make mistakes, because ultimately, one of the most important things in parenting is like you have no control. And you don't have control over the life itself. Like you don't have control over your own life, and you definitely won't have control over your kids' life. But you can be a guiding light for when they need it, and of course the things that they need: food, home, security, love, things like that. Because most of the time it's not even the society that will shape them so much. It is like partially the environment and all this stuff, but 50% is still genetics and the character, and that's it. There's nothing any one of us can do but just be there for them, because they're part of you, part of your blood. And definitely allow them to teach you who they are. You don't know anything about who they are, they will teach you a lot. They will show you who they are. So just learn how to be a very supportive parent, but of course a good mentor, which means that when it comes to teaching them the discipline, it will have to be a little bit of tough love. It's never just all bells and whistles and hugs and kisses. You know, the teaching kids accountability is also one of the most in parenting roles, because a lot of parents, unfortunately, raised a bunch of narcissists in the previous generations and the generations to come, and it's freaking terrible and terrifying too, because these kids suffer the most. Some of the stuff I've learned recently, for example, is just generally which people I respect more is people who are asking questions why. So people who are still like curious. They want to understand why things are like that. So if you look at the kids, they keep asking, so why is the sun yellow? Why does it always come over the day? Why does it do this? And the questions never end. You know, they only really stop asking when they've really explored all the possibilities, but then they still probably create their own, some of their own stories on top of it, which is really cool. So that's their imagination on top. But the point is to stay creative, to stay open-minded, to stay youthful throughout the life. Ask why, because also to achieve your own personal freedom, ask why. Because taking stuff for granted, oh yeah, just because everyone else does it, I think we've had more than enough of really good example in the past few years. Why not all of that is really good? Yeah. So people who never ask why but always know better than everyone else, yeah, I had that word for them. Yeah. Then self-realization in general, that's something that really comes only with the 30s and onwards, almost regardless of what you were doing before, because only then you start to realize, oh shit, kind of like that's where the who I am question really starts to pop up, and from like the back of your head. And most people have their probably their first emotional crisis at that point without knowing it. So keep learning, practice what you learn. When you want to test yourself, find really credible merits to measure. So not the kind of people who show off a lot, but they don't have much to show for, but the kind of people who are really the silent rivers, but they can really beat the living crap out of everything. So these are, let's say, the masters, yeah? So find 2 to 3 masters you can actually learn from and test yourself with. Because if you really want to test yourself, you want to test yourself, you know, like in any discipline, in anything you're going to do, you want to test yourself against a champion, not against someone who may have occasionally a good streak and just a very big ego. No. You can test yourself against someone who is going to be consistently beating the shit out of everyone in any kind of situation. These are the kind of people you want to put yourself against, because you're going to lose anyway. But at least you're going to see how far you're willing to go to try and win at least one shot against them. I've done this in billiards many times, played against people who were like, you know, so few of them are actually on the Hall of Fame level. And just winning one game in this whole match of games against them was pure pleasure. And then I have the last one now, which is more related to the spiritual side of things, like meditation, self-observation, all this new age stuff. There are no rules to this. Really, honestly, there's no rules. Each and every one of us has our own journey in a sense. The only rule is to stay consistent, to just do stuff. But there are a few traps that we were told, like you are what you think. That's bullshit. Because it goes even further than that. If they tell you everything is an illusion, then even your thought is an illusion in itself. And partially that's true. What we feel, what we think, what we say, all of that really creates our own reality and beyond. That's true. But if you want to really find out who you are, and I'm not talking about your name, your job and stuff, but really in the core level who you are, who is that being that even once you leave the body and whatever happens later on, whether there's afterlife, doesn't really matter, but just who you are, you gotta learn how to observe. So that is the meditative state, which you can achieve, which you can practice, or you can achieve, and then you can do all the time, every day, whatever, or all day long, whatever it is. But don't think who you are, observe. Even the thoughts that you have are a part of that you, and not just the ego, but you as your higher self, your ego, and your subconscious all together. Because when people are focusing only, let's say, when you're really when you have a focused meditation, you're going on to a higher frequencies, higher vibrations, communicating with your higher self. When you go into the deep meditative state, you're more going on to the subconscious level, more creative, exploring the deeper sides of yourself. But on a daily level, just be aware of the fact that you're always the observer of everything that is going on and the creator at the same time. But it's kind of like, you know, if you observe the Mandelbrot, the Mandelbrot patterns and stuff. So it's kind of like that. So it goes inside and out. But you are not just the observer of the thoughts, you also become the one. Like, the brain doesn't do the thinking for you. You do the thinking. But at the end of the day, we also are a bit sometimes automated. We're like information overload, and the pressure makes all of us fairly automated. So at that point, learn how to observe yourself, learn how to observe your thoughts and your state of mind, emotional states, and you will find ways of actually helping and healing yourself much better and stuff. And yeah, maybe one thing that I didn't put on the paper in the note, what really helps, like I said, if you don't have good friends and partner who talks you can talk to and communicate, so the communication is really important, particularly communication with yourself. The taboo teams and stuff, when people say therapy, but I don't need that, I'm not that bad, people think that you need therapy for like really bad stuff, as in you're gonna lose your mind or wanna kill yourself. If you reach that point in life, it could be almost too late. That's like a really huge red alert already. I would say if you have really no help from anywhere else, you are alone, you get stuck, and you feel stuck. There's really no taboo team, and there's no shame, and nothing bad about you. You're not broken. Just be aware that not all the time we can do everything by ourselves. So if you felt like anxious, depressed, in states of mind and order of mind which doesn't fit you and your narrative and how you want to feel, and you've tried whatever you could, drinking teas, routines, whatever you tried for so many ways, you gotta realize that there's probably some other factors in your life you're not paying attention to at that moment, or you don't have the right knowledge and the right skills to help yourself. That's why it's wise to go and seek therapy. Now, it could be psychotherapy, it could be aromatherapy, whatever it is. Depends. Like, don't overwhelm yourself with too many things at once. It's better to more like try one thing for a month and see how it feels. And if it feels really good, like it's consistently making you feel better after a month, then continue. If it's still not doing anything for you, it's probably better to explore another option. But it really matters that you don't do too many things at once either. Like, you go to a therapist, you go to yoga, you go to spa, you go to sauna, you do this, you do those. That's again basically just escaping and running away from problems, being that top level perfectionist who wants to push so hard that they don't see that it's just another burnout, but the positive kind of burnout, the positive toxicity, which is something I'm probably going to talk another day, like positive toxicity and stuff in life, how pushing yourself for everything that's good will actually turn exactly the other way around. That was, yeah, basically these things that I've been talking for now in about an hour. Maybe it would be shorter if I wasn't interrupted. I'm sorry about that. These are the lessons I've learned in my 40 plus years, and I wish I did learn much before. Most of them I knew, wasn't implementing them well. I didn't discipline myself well, for example. And yeah, one of the biggest ones was definitely in my case, I wasn't setting any kind of boundaries for myself. It was just like, whatever comes, it's fine. People are like that, it's fine. Just finding excuses for my own behavior, which wasn't okay, and their own, which was even much less okay. So, yeah, don't be tough on yourself, but be strict with your discipline and be kind to yourself. Thanks for watching. Please leave me a comment how it was. Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Which part did you enjoy? Which one you didn't? And see you next time. Ciao.